We're live. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Sorry if my audio sounds a little weird, and sorry about my appearance too. I have a band-aid on my face. Since we're talking about transparency, let me be transparent with all of you all. Wear your sunscreen. Wear your sunscreen. Um, Wear a hat. Wear clothing when you go out in the sun. So, anyway, sorry, we had some technical difficulties. So, we were trying mics, we were trying different cameras. It's been a nightmare today. So, sorry that we are a little late. But I am Megan Seaton. I lead the business development team here at Avero Advisors. With me, I have our founder and CEO, Avijit Varakar, call him AV for short. Today, we are talking about transparency and accountability, mostly in the public sector as we talk about these digital transformation projects. But I kind of want to venture into how we do it here at Avero. I think one of our biggest accomplishments is that we are very transparent, and AV does a good job holding myself and our team very accountable. So before we get started and get into the questions, is there anything you want to say, AV, that's specifically
No,
transparency?
hopefully everyone can hear me, but I think the topic's important and it's timely, and there are different flavors of transparency. And sometimes when people say they want to be transparent, it's not completely accurate because you don't want your dirty laundry out there. Not very many people can um, hang with that. So I am looking forward to getting into this with you.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very needed, and it's a hard topic even to talk about, right? Because I mean, for me, I think being from the South, growing up in the South, it's hard to be honest because you want to be so nice, right? And you want to give compliments, and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's where you grow. Also, if you're joining us today, let us know that you're here and ask us a question, anything around this topic, and let us know where you're joining from. So, first question, what does accountability mean in the context of a public agency's digital transformation?
So I think it's one of the few foundational aspects of digital modernization or ERP implementations. You look back to 30, 40 years ago. Of course, I wasn't around, but what I've heard and what I've seen, because some of our clients are still using older technologies, that it's a black hole that data goes into. And forget the public and the citizens, your own department people or leadership or department heads have no idea what goes on into a financial or an accounting system. It just magic happens and it comes out, and you rely on the results that show up. Now, true transparency is where you allow citizens to ask you questions and give them the answers they're asking for. Or even better, have those available on the website or at a kiosk or on an app. Things like how much money was spent on the road we just built, or how much money was spent on maintaining a specific building. All of that's available in modern ERP systems that wasn't available previously. Like you had a green screen AS400 system. Good luck being transparent, but it can go a step too far. Also, we had a client that had an AS400 system, and in an effort to be transparent, they opened up the database on their website, and we found out through our work that this was a two-way street to disaster, because not only were they giving minute details on bank transactions and where the money came from, where it went. Yes, it's very transparent, but how much ammo does it give your bad actors to hack into your system and go in? The other bad thing about that was that it potentially could have allowed bad actors to come in from that web portal into your main system. So transparency can go a little too far. So we need to find that sweet spot working with our clients to say, here's how much data we need to show our citizens, and in what format, and then if they have questions they can ask. But there's a lot of cool systems out there that can today uh, take your ERP system, put it on the website, and open it up for reporting and questions.
Right. How can public agencies from the outset, how can they make sure that accountability is at the forefront of their digital transformation projects?
Yeah, they need to define what that means to them, right? We have a client that is all about transparency, all about citizen access, and giving the residents of the city the tools they need to um, access services and ask questions, and for the city to be transparent. So as we start defining what that probably means to them, the mayor says, "Cool idea, but no, I don't want citizens to contact me directly. Cool
Mhm,
idea, but I do not want citizens accessing and participating in a council meeting remotely." So we really need to be careful in defining what transparency means, and it's different for different cities. I know that there's probably standards out there. I, as a citizen, I want to be able to see how, let's say, public works is spending money, where the funding came from, how much they spent on rocks and gravel, and how much they spent on equipment and vehicles uh, in a specific year. So there needs to be boundaries about what you want to open up in terms of data to your citizens and the
mhm.
people that care, like auditors and the press and other cities and consultants. Uh, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you're defining that correctly upfront, because these systems can open it up, like that other example I gave you. It can be as open as you want it to be, but there are ramifications to that. Of course, there's no competition, but you can give out too much information too if you're
Right.
not careful.
What recommendations would you make to our listeners and viewers on how to keep their data protected?
The principles are the same. First of all, again, define transparency upfront, what that means to you, how that plays into your general business practices and processes.
Mhm,
um, what levels of transparency do you want to have? Do you want each department to see data for other departments? It is recommended because you're one unit, one entity. And how much do you want to show to the public and to the press without having it be a Freedom of Information Act request for you? How do you protect data outside of that is the simple things: backups and documentation. Make sure your backups are good backups that can be restored, and that you have enough documentation that you can trace if there is a bad event that happens, how it came in, what happened. um, and then you can go back to the backups and restore your environment. So it's nothing different from the usual sort of steps you would take to keep your data and backup secure.
right. What can public agencies learn from the private sector as it relates to fostering accountability during a transformation?
Well, private sector isn't very transparent unless you're a publicly traded company, right? Then you have to be transparent.
Right.
And even within that, there's trade secrets, and you have copyrights that you're trying to protect your own intellectual property. In the government, it's different. You know, one would think that because it's taxpayer dollars, that the public owns all of this, and it's in the interest of the public to have open data. I think the difference there is the government isn't competitive. They're not trying to hide anything. Uh,
Mhm.
but because it's a political environment, of course, when you can't find something on a website, the first instinct to say, okay, this person's hiding, this elected official is hiding something.
Right.
That's not always the case. Sometimes, of course, it is, but the difference is that private sector has an incentive to hide things because they are trying to keep information from the public, from competitors. There's very sensitive information that we don't release and we don't make public, even to our staff here, because that's just generally good business practice.
Mhm.
Um, but on the government side, you want people to know how well the administration's doing, how you're stewarding and shepherding taxpayer dollars, and not just wasting it, which is the perception you have for a government operation, right? Like they're out there wasting our taxpayer dollars. But let me assure you, more often than not, it's not the case. But it all comes back to how transparent you want to be. and defining that upfront, because the tools exist to make that happen for you.
Right. Let's shift gears for a minute, and let's talk about Avero and our team and our staff. What does accountability and transparency mean to us, to you in particular as a CEO? Um, let's talk about that topic just a little bit.
I think to me, it's transparency in expectations and outcomes.
Mhm.
I strive to be very transparent in what I do on a daily basis, why it matters to other employees, why it matters to our organization, why it matters to our clients. And I try to be transparent on setting expectations on what I want from my employees on a day to day basis. Now, of course, as we've grown, that footprint has grown of employees, and what I can directly control has changed a lot. So I have to rely on my direct reports to carry that message forward. So, and I think it's happening for the most part, where we truly believe in being transparent with feedback. We truly believe in being transparent with timely feedback without being mean.
Mhm.
And I think that's the difference. And you've said this to me too. When you first came in, you thought I was mean.
I
Uh,
did.
but what it is really being transparent about what I expect from you while we're here doing this thing, because
Right.
we have other things to do with our lives. So there's no time to dance around the facts.
Right.
That's what transparency means to me. Like, just let's be open and honest about what outcomes I'm looking for. Let's match that up with your aspirations and expectations, and that'll forge the path ahead.
Right.
Um, and in our case, I try to be transparent with how we obtain business with our staff internally, not necessarily competitors, but how we obtain business, what's our secret sauce, and teaching people how to do this. That's my
Right.
biggest thing. I don't want to keep anything from people that can eventually come take my job, which is a very, very deeply held aspiration for me, that somebody becomes as good as I am at this. And I'm only good at this because I've been at this for a long time. So um, that's what it means to me. My outcomes are very related and connected to how transparent I can be with the business. And there's certain limitations to that, of course, but I don't like holding back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a two-way street, though, right? I mean, you've alluded to that, but when I first came on board, it like you said, I thought you were being mean, but I knew that feedback was going to help me grow as an individual and as a professional individual. But for me, it was very hard to be transparent back. So I feel like you had to open that gateway for me
Hmm.
uh, to to build that trust and to be able to give you my feedback. That was huge because
Yep.
you listened to that. So I think it takes both. It's a two-way street, and you have to know how the other person communicates, right?
Yep.
Like my personality is very different from yours, and yours is very different from our PMs. But knowing how each person communicates is the door, is the key,
Yep.
to transparency and to a better um,
Right.
work.
So it ties back perfectly with our work with our clients too.
Mhm.
We are transparent with our clients also, right?
Yeah.
Bad news doesn't get better with time. So being transparent on what's going on in their operations, what we've been finding with through our IT strategic planning sessions or through business process redesign sessions, those executives need to know, because either they're new, they've been in the dark, they've been kept in the dark,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons they bring us in is to shed light on the parts of their organization that they have no transparency and visibility into. So if we start being non-transparent and cagey about what we know, that doesn't bode well for our business and for the profession. What we sell is trust and transparency, right? We're gonna come in here and tell you what you're missing, show you the light, show you aspects of your organization you probably suspected but had no data to back up what you felt.
Mhm.
And those are the things we are experts at. So transparency really is our business on our own end, and for our clients. Now, extend that to system implementations. A big part of all of this is how do you avoid silos, right? You're putting in a new system. And if you're wanting it to work like it did 20 years ago, you're not doing yourself any favors. So our job is to open the organization up, open the business processes up, to see who's duplicating things, what departments can be doing one process instead of 10 different ones. Open it up to discussion with the executives and with the workforce, and then translate all of that into system requirements that then go into an RFP, and the vendor gets selected. We've talked for ages about all of this. None of
Mhm.
that happens if there is no transparency. None of that happens if our client executives are not willing to open up and say, look, here's our struggles, here's where we fell flat, here's what we would like to do, here's our vision. If they can't be transparent, then we can't deliver results for them.
Right.
And I think one of our super strengths is to get people to open up and tell us what those very important things are, because it, again, you can't just say I want a new ERP system without digging deep into how you want to serve your organization as a city manager, as a mayor, and distilling that into system requirements. That's a tough skill set to have, and we've got that. That's our business. So transparency is and accountability is really critical to the whole operation. And let me talk about accountability a little bit, right? We talk about not ever surprising our clients. We talk about not ever surprising our teammates uh, with project stuff, right? I don't want to hear bad news when it's got out of hand. I'd like to know it beforehand so we can prep for it, we can attack it, we can solve it before it gets bad. So accountability is very closely related to transparency for me.
Mhm.
It how well do you follow through on your promises and the things that you said you were going to do. That's very important to us as a business, and I know it's important to our clients because they don't get it on a daily basis.
Mhm.
They get wishy-washy promises, and their timelines are kind of fuzzy, and outcomes are undefined. And when we come in, it's the complete opposite. We're going to tell you what's going to happen, when, how much it's going to cost you, what your risks are, and then we do our very best to stick to that plan. Right? We stick to this. We care about you a lot, and we show it to you by being transparent, accountable, and making sure that this project doesn't derail someone's mental health, because it's very likely to. We've seen many instances during large scale ERP implementations that people, including our members, may lose their minds from time to time. But the
Right.
way to get past it, to avoid it, is to be transparent and accountable.
Right. How do you feel like our clients receive that transparency?
It's intimidating, right? It's again like Office Space, when the Bobs come in and they're like, "What do you say you do here?" It's intimidating. You may have been hired as a web developer 20 years ago, and now your job has become um, just running backups on your old system. And it's a mixture of emotions for those people, right? That they are professionals that don't get to do the thing that they were hired for, and they're doing something else because the design job went away, and they nobody wanted to let people go. So transparency is a tough situation to be in for them.
Mhm.
And we do a good job of getting those people to kind of relax and tell us what's on their mind. It's a lot of therapy, um, and it's not easy, and it's not something that clients can do in house on their own because the personalities are different, right? It's like trying to solve your own problems with self counseling. It doesn't work.
Right. And trust is a big factor in
Hmm.
all of this, right? You have to trust the person that you're being transparent with and that's holding you accountable and that you're
Right.
holding accountable,
Right.
right? So that's a huge part of this. For public agencies, what does it mean to be transparent with some of their private technology partnerships? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, and you know, apologies in advance if software vendor friends are listening in, but
We love you guys. You know we
love you
do.
guys. But they're not the most transparent and accountable to our clients. I'm sure they are to others. but it's a struggle always to have them follow through on project planning, on sending the right invoices, and for not lying on the RFP proposals. Um, so it's a real struggle, and it's one of the reasons we are in business and we exist, and companies like us exist, that there is no transparency coming from a major part of the industry. Very rarely will we get the right answers, timely answers, and when a certain product is chosen, a vendor is chosen, our clients struggle. They struggle with keeping the facts straight. They struggle with keeping promises to their councils and commissions because the vendor lies and the vendor doesn't provide transparent and accountable people on the job. We understand that the labor market, especially in IT, is stringent right now, but that doesn't keep you from being a good account manager or, again, giving what the client's asking for. And at times it's nothing more than the truth and accountability. Just tell us what's going on so we're not in the dark, so we're not making promises to our bosses and looking bad. Now everybody looks bad. So I would say they lack in those things on our software vendor side.
Right. What are some of the ethical considerations that need to be taken into account when trying to measure or implement accountability, transparency, in our realm, and then maybe also when taking on an ERP project or an
Yeah.
IT strategic planning project?
Well, it's ethics and integrity is everything, right?
Mhm.
It's um, as consultants that don't necessarily sell a product or build things other than ideas. We Our reputation is the biggest asset we have. The goodwill is the biggest asset we can have. So we strive to be transparent, and that ethics play a big role in business. It's not law, but it's ethics. It really ties into your morality and how you see the world and how you want to be treated and how you treat other people.
Mhm.
Um, and we try to match that up front, right? We try to show that we're ethical people. Um, that builds trust, but you can only say that for so long. And
Mhm.
then you have to back it up with the theme of the day: accountability and transparency. So we're not in high stakes situations where we have to exercise moral ethics. There's not too much of a conflict, which is why, again, we're shocked and surprised by some of the vendors out there, some of them, not everybody, that are so unaccountable to their actions and so non-transparent that we question the ethics of the whole organization.
Sure.
And then the challenge becomes, how do we keep ourselves out of that, right? How do we keep, because it can set a really bad example, right? If you let an ERP vendor that's a large publicly traded companies that are acting in bad faith and unethically and just not accountable, and the challenge then becomes for our teams to make sure that we remain steadfast in our approach and that none of that dirt sticks to us and that we're protecting our clients at all times.
Right, absolutely. Well, it's our brand.
Hmm.
Not only the Avero brand, but our personal brand,
Personal man,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, not only in business, but in outside business relationships.
Right.
You got to do what you say you're going to do, or that follows you. We all know
Hmm.
the guy who wants to go grab lunch that never follows through, right? We've
Yep.
seen them at coffee clubs and connect lunches and wherever else we've seen them at. We know those people, and we never want to become that.
Correct.
So I don't have any more questions. If you want to wrap us up here, AV, on transparency and accountability, I think my takeaway is that in order for change to happen, these two things have to happen. You have to hold people accountable and you have to be transparent,
Yeah, I
regardless.
think, I mean, this is a great topic. I think,
Mhm.
again, proof that we're not, just a technology firm. This is a lot of therapy and coaching that goes into this, right? When a
Yes.
client is wanting to make major changes in their organization and they're putting themselves out there, they're being transparent. That is a key aspect of transformation.
Oh, yeah.
the tech pieces, they fall in place. Like, but if you're not willing to be accountable and um, you know, stick a flag in the ground and say we're gonna stand this ground until this project's done, no matter how long it takes, and we're going to be transparent and accountable to our people, to our employees, to the council, to the citizens.
Yeah.
That's half the battle won. Because otherwise, you're opening yourself up to a whole world of pain with um, your vendor community, with your staff, with council. So it all starts with top management and their desire to transform their organizations through technology or not. But the key is being open and honest about aspirations and drawbacks, and just vulnerable about what the situation is. And those tend to make the most um, memorable clients, and also the most successful.
Right. William, thank you for joining us today. He says vendors will say anything. ... Yes, they will.
Not a
Confirmed.
Yeah.
They will. We do love our vendor friends, but thank you all for joining us today. We will go live next week. If there's any topic that you all would like to hear about, please reach out to us. But we hope you guys have a blessed weekend, and go Vols. The madness has begun. So thank you guys. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.